Hola, soy José Antonio Arochi, abogado del despacho Arochi y Lindner. El día de hoy vengo a presentarles el primer canal legal de propiedad intelectual en México. En este canal abordaremos temas de propiedad intelectual que afectan en el día a día a influencers, emprendedores, empresas y personas en general. Tendremos la presencia de autoridades, clientes y nuestros abogados, hablando desde temas de marcas, patentes, derechos de autor, publicidad, así como cada una de las materias que vemos en este despacho. Bienvenidos. Welcome to the 6th episode of the Arochi and Lindner channel. Today, we will be speaking about the Metaverse. Today, we will have Pamela Gisholt in our episode. Pamela is an associate which specializes in enforcement issues, but has specialized in advertising and related matters. Thank you very much, Pamela, for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So Metaverse is something that people know, that people are talking a lot about. Tell us a little bit about a general idea of what is Metaverse.
Well, Metaverse started as a science fiction matter. Then it became the emblem of future and technology. But it has not been always like that. And today we see it as an opportunity of business, as a way of the world migrating to a new space, to a new era, and how we are acknowledging technology and using it for benefit of companies and persons.
And how do you see companies grabbing Metaverse as a benefit, like in a day-by-day basis?
Well, there have been like a lot of projects ongoing, different industries investing in Metaverse. We have since Nike with Nikeland, we have Walmart with the e-commerce platform, we have Coca-Cola Company, and we have Procter & Gamble. Each one of them are using or investing in the Metaverse for different purposes. But at the end, they are seeing it as a test place. They are seeing it as an advertising space. They are seeing it as a matter of launching products or services and testing if they are working or not. And we also have companies like Volkswagen putting an agency for cars, so you can, like from the catalog, choose your car, and then you will have it physically and picking it up at the agency, for instance.
So it's more like an experience that they're selling.
Yeah, at the end, the Metaverse, it's boosting that immersive experiences in social environments that allows virtual reality, augmented reality, so that companies are not only selling products or services, but also the experience of feeling that product or feeling that service.
When a client contacts you in the firm and tells you, I want to know a little bit about Metaverse, you being an IP attorney, what is your advice to them in a day-by-day? If I'm McDonald's and I tell you, Pamela, I want to enter the Metaverse, but I want an experience in Mexico, as an IP attorney, what is your advice? In the end, nothing is regulated, so you have to have a little bit of imagination to know a little bit of how to enforce the day-by-day of the company.
Yes, of course. The first thing that I think that it's important to determine is what is the goal or the purpose of such company or client, because at the end, they are seeking for a business issue or business project. So there are different platforms. This is important to clarify. We don't have yet just one metaverse. We have many metaverses with many platforms interacting in this virtual world. So depending on what you want, I would advise on the platform that you should invest. And then what are the terms and conditions of that platform so that it can be analogous to what you want and your project. And then we can pass to the next step that would be protecting that idea. Well, ideas are not protected, but your brands or your name or the services that you are willing to offer there. So what is protectable and what not would be like the next step after determining the needs of the company and the best platform to invest in.
Have you seen particular projects that have been launched by companies here at the firm or maybe in Mexico? Because we're talking about Mexico at the end.
Yeah, well, the Metaverse knows no borders. So at the end, you can get into the Metaverse in Mexico, although companies are not Mexican. Mexican companies are not totally in yet, and there had been other countries that had been more advanced in this investment. But we have, in advertising matters, for instance, we have campaigns and we have advertising agencies already offering their services there. And we have known about companies, Latin American companies, that are already working on meta-humans, about influencers coming into the metaverse. And there have been like a lot of challenges about that, because you need to know what an influencer would be in the metaverse, and how it will be regulated, and how they should be promoting or advertising a product or a service. And imagine an avatar of an influencer, and there would be like a bubble saying, hey, I'm an influencer, or say, I'm, I don't know, X brand ambassador. So that kind of things are not quite established yet, and we have like a lot of way to go through.
Well, and more advertising. Here in Mexico, we don't have thorough regulation. At the end, everything is just talking about an article, talking about misleading advertising. So imagine influencer, you're talking about two things, advertising and influencers. In Mexico, just so you know, there is no regulation for influencers. Everything's about a contract. So at the end, when there is no regulations regarding influencers and there's no regulations regarding Metaverse, then if there is a legal issue, then where are we going to have a litigation regarding those particular matters? So there's a lot of questions.
Yes, of course, and there is a lot of challenges, because if in the physical world it's hard to enforce rights, when you talk about influencers or regulations or lack of regulations, imagine in the metaverse. Today, we can ground or we can take a look to the terms and conditions of each platform that is hosting a metaverse, a virtual space. But at the end, it's still private. The terms and conditions of a platform, it's private matter. So we still need a regulation. In Mexico, we currently have our civil code, our new civil code, already hosts and address a definition of metaverse and blockchain, for instance, but we still have a lot to go through to be able to enforce metaverse affairs in the physical world.
Yeah, no, what I see a lot in the metaverse is that obviously everybody's trying to go into it, but at the end, legally speaking, it's gonna be very complicated, because like you were mentioning, at the end, maybe you're in the metaverse, but you are a Mexican company, but obviously if there's an issue, you cannot litigate it before the civil tribunals in Mexico. It's gonna be very complicated.
Yeah, well, you have to address to the jurisdiction stated in the terms and conditions. So if you are talking about, I don't know, a company based in the United States, the platform is in the United States, and the terms and conditions are addressing any affair to the United States, you will have to litigate the case there, because it is an agreement between private parties. So at the end, you are still talking about physical world and virtual world all combined, with a lot of challenges and a lot of things that we still do not know how our authorities are going to rule on.
What do you think are in advertising on a day by day, what do you think are the key opportunities for the metaverse? What should be regulated? Should we regulate? Should we have a law? Should we have guidelines? Do you see areas of opportunity?
Yeah, of course. From the regulation point of view, I think that we need a lot of things, mostly related to social behavior, because as an influencer or as a company advertising your services, you must be aware that all you do causes an impact, and there is public receiving those messages. So you need regulation on social behaviors, on ethics. You need regulation in the physical world for calling like that. Influencers in some countries have some norms or rules that must be followed. Hey, I'm an influencer. Hey, I'm such brand ambassador. Or hey, even this image is photoshopped. So I think that kind of regulations must be an issue of needing it in a short period of time in the metaverse as well.
It's very unfortunate that here in Mexico, being a very robust economic from the Latin American market, we do not have any type of guidelines. You see Peru in the INDECOPI, which is the Mexican, which is a Peruvian IP authority, regulates guidelines for influencers, regulates the day-by-day of what they can say or what they can't say. And here in Mexico, I think it's very important for these cases, particularly for metaverse issues. When we get a question from our clients, a lot of the lawyers that are involved in the day-by-day are not just IP lawyers, but lawyers that know about consumer protection, they know about privacy, they know about different day-by-day advertising matters. So I think until we have guidelines in Mexico, until we have maybe a legislation, which I think it's too much, you have to have very prepared IP attorneys and IP-related branches of law that know about the matters, so you can give a very good advice to a client. But I think that's the issue because we don't have anything in Mexico.
Yeah, you have to be like a very complete, or to give a very complete advice and take care of a lot of aspects that are somehow related to advertising. What is true is that the metaverse, yes, is bringing new challenges, but also new opportunities, as we were talking about immersive experiences, to feel or to sense the product or the service rather than just seeing it or just want it to acquire. That's what we also were seeing before the metaverse in the physical world. There are a lot of companies that sell an experience rather than the product. So that's why you decide to choose or to pick that product, despite there's like a lot of options in the market. And the metaverse is helping the companies to do that in the advertising aspect. But we have a lot of things to relate to. What happens if the platform breaks down? Or what happens with the interoperability between the platforms? What happens with the language, for instance, in which language you will be launching an advertising campaign that is worldwide because the metaverse is worldwide.
Yeah, but imagine you have an advertising campaign in Mexico and it's in English. It's not enforceable in Mexico because it's not in a Spanish language. So there's a lot of lack of regulation. We had a case during pandemic, Pamela and myself, regarding an educational platform. And that educational platform, you could pay the platform with Bitcoins. Mexico is not regulated
on cryptocurrency.
Yeah. So it's a lot of regulatory issues that we have to see. And depending the case is depending the lawyers that are involved. Exactly. I always laugh and we talk about it, but when we always get questions from clients, 70% of the time, for these particular cases, we have to be checking out what is the next step and seeing what we can do and to assist our clients because there's nothing.
Yeah, and there are not like twin cases. Every case is different, every need is different, and every purpose of projects is different. So we have to take care of a lot of different legal aspects that must be addressed to do not get into a legal affair in the physical world, no matter if your purpose is to get into the virtual space.
To leave a little bit advertising to the side, us as IP attorneys, do you see a lot of companies registering or filing trademarks for the metaverse? Obviously, I think it's important for the people to know that if you file a trademark, you're not gonna file it in the metaverse. You're gonna file it in each of the jurisdictions and you protect digital or certain
digital assets. Yeah, exactly. And it's a different class of products than the physical product. So it is important, yes, that for the cases we have been seeing around the world and how courts from different jurisdictions are ruling on these cases, the trend or each authority is tending to require that title holders have a trademark registration in class related to digital assets rather than the physical product itself.
And you see that in a short run, we're gonna have any type of legislation or guidelines regarding the metaverse in Mexico? Or you have to wait to see what happens in other jurisdictions where the economic or the value of the metaverse is a little bit broader than in Mexico?
Well, leader countries are always an example, and they start putting the marks of what other countries should be doing right now. But in Mexico, I think that the simple fact of having already a definition of metaverse in our new civil code opens the possibility of using that virtual space and Web3 in our legal cases in the day-to-day basis. So having the possibility, for instance, of providing or submitting evidence based on blockchain and that it has to be admitted on civil courts in Mexico is a great step on technology. So I think that we are not too far from what we are talking here right now.
Yeah. No, and at the end, I think people should know a little bit about your background. You did enforcement, anti-counterfeit, but enforcement matters that related to Metaverse and related matters were the option for you to start seeing these cases. So it's interesting because I think you have to be innovating in a day by day, no?
Yeah, well, at the beginning, counterfeits were like in the streets. Then they started migrating to the online world, e-commerce platforms, social networks. With the pandemic, all sellers, be it legal or illegal product, started selling on the internet. So that forced us as an attorney, as an IP attorney, to start seeing internet matters. And then from Web 2, you jump into Web 3, and there's like a lot of information and a lot of things to keep learning into. But I think that that background it's good to know how are the challenges and how to determine how are we going to overcome what we face in Web 3.
Thank you very much, Pamela. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll have another episode to talk about this because this is a very large and robust topic.
I'll be delighted to keep talking about this in the next episodes. Thank you very much.
Again, thank you very much for being in our 6th episode. Like you know, we will have episodes that will be in English for you guys. Thank you very much.
Si te gustó este contenido, dale like, deja tus comentarios y suscríbete.